And, when he said that, like, it just like out of nowhere blindsided me and like immediate like breakdown, like mid workout. I was like,
I could do this.
it was like 4 days out. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I got a competitor competing right now. Well, tomorrow. So she's sending me pictures.
That's exciting.
Yeah, her first show. And she's an optometrist and she nailed prep, which is like, I love when that happens. Like, I love when I get people that just like, they, you tell them what to do and they just do it. Like she had one little, like a breakdown and it was like, right. Well, I'm like, it took you, I'm surprised you didn't get more earlier. Like it was like the second last week and she's like, I just started crying. And I'm like, yeah, it usually happens. Like song comes on or something and reminds you whatever, and you got like it's a mix of emotions of like gratitude and like doubt and excitement, and you're like, I don't know why I'm crying. It's like, yeah, that's usually happens. I'm like, I'm surprised it happened like only a week out. Like I would have thought you would have been, and she's in shape, so she's not like she's. I watched your reel today. It was about like how you feel, like feeling not good or hungry at the end of prep. And I'm like, she nailed it. Like I'm like, if you don't feel good, you probably look good. It's the
Yeah.
kind of weird thing about it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard for people to get that. But like, if you feel, you should feel sort of pretty hungry and kind of like aggro and a little bit, like if you don't and you feel great and summery and full of energy, it's like probably not in shape.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's really impressive that for her first show, you were able to get her to that point, to that conditioning, and for wellness too. I mean, like, I think I think it's really easy to throw someone in early before they're ready, and especially a girl who's naturally just like curvier. You'd be like, oh yeah, like you're good, you fit this division, but like it's a whole other level to bring those kind of athletes in, even at a regional show, to bring them in at that standard. I mean, you look at Franchella. Gosh, her physique is insane, and I mean, like she is the epitome of like that kind of conditioning they want. So when you show up less than that, it's like, oh man, like I don't think you're really getting what this is supposed to be. But that's impressive, man. Like I mean, and for one breakdown, like just at the end, I don't know about you. Like when does that happen for you in prep?
Me, week one, no. Like around the 4 week out mark, it start like I start to feel. It's more so like when like my foods look cut. Like I know that I don't have enough, you know, macros, really like fats and whatnot to really sustain my moods and whatnot. And like I have a lot of muscle and I'm always very lean, quite, I wouldn't say early, but like I'm always like 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So it's like around like 4 weeks, I'm like, I start to feel the emotions coming on, like, and I'm very aware of this stuff because for me, like mental health wise, I'm still actively going to a therapist. I find it's very important, integral for my life. But being aware of those things, like I have to, in prep, be like, okay. And this helps with my athletes too, because I'll tell them like, this is how you will probably start to feel around this time. I have this like 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 at weeks. And that's usually like around like, when you would change a couple things, depending on, could be supplements, gear wise, or nutrition. Most likely not nutrition for a little bit, but I have those time frames that things might be changed or might happen physiologically or chemically with you around those points. So this is how you might feel, or just be aware this is around the corner. And that's what I've done for a lot of my press, because I have to be very conscious of, like knowing, where I'm at in terms of calories and energy and sustaining my mood. When it gets that low, I have to be very aware. So I know always around like 6 week mark, I'm starting to feel it. Then 4 weeks, and I'm like, okay, it's starting. The jokes I can't really, when you try to laugh at a joke and you can't really laugh at a joke, and you're like, someone says something to you in the gym, you're like, yeah, nothing for you, like like that.
Yeah.
I feel that a bit, right? I'm sure you have like, yeah, yourself.
Um, you know, before I feel like from the beginning, I preps, I mean, just felt really hard. But I think exactly what you touched on, like if you don't have a good idea of when you're supposed to start to feel bad or when realistically you should, and if you're type A like me, if your default is a little more anxious, then yeah, like you're gonna feel anxiety, or even fear, I guess, like that overwhelming emotion, maybe earlier than you actually should. Maybe you're kind of exacerbating that yourself before, like, physiologically you should even feel those changes. But I would say this past prep, I coached myself, and I had John Jewett. He was my second eye. I mean, it was a great experience because he wanted to show me, like, hey, I believe in you as far as, like, you can get yourself as lean as you need to be at the pro level. And I know you can do it yourself, but I want to, like, also, I want to help guide you and show you that you have the right to believe in yourself, and your ability to do that. But the first time you do it, it's going to be still very, like, stressful and a little anxiety inducing. And I actually found, like, the earlier that I got ready and started to dig, because this prep, I mean, like, week one, I was like, okay, like, I'm going to really try to get ahead this first month. And that actually made it to where, like, really second month, third month, I wasn't as anxious, and I wasn't as, I didn't have those lows that we're kind of describing. And then it didn't really hit me until, like, that final week, once again. And that was more so when, I mean, I'm working out, and we have a home gym. So I'm working out at the house, and my boyfriend's like, he's like, you remember, like, 6 months ago? Like, I didn't think that, like, you could do this. And, like, it's not to say, like, he believes in me, but he's also very realistic about, like, hey, what you're trying to do is really hard. And, when he said that, like, it just, like, out of nowhere blindsided me, and, like, immediate, like, breakdown, like, mid workout. I was like,
I could do this.
it was like 4 days out, so it makes sense. But he was like, he was trying to make a point, and he's like, dang, like, we didn't know if you could do this, and, like, this is, like, now another opportunity that you showed yourself, like, hey, this was possible, even though most people, like, they wouldn't have blamed you if you couldn't do it, so
That was my last prep. I coached myself. That was my absolute best prep. I had Greg Doucette was like I had a little series called Getting Leaner Than Greg Doucette, because that was how I was gonna determine if I get leaner than him, I'm definitely gonna place. And literally that was, like, the mark. And anyway, so, like, he was my eye. So the first time I did everything on my own, diet, it was the most, like, liberating experience I had, because, all those, like, feeling of, like, guilt or shame or anything when it comes to, like, morals with food, for me, it was very easy for me to be like, this is what it is. This is your body responding a certain way. If you need to have a refeed, have the refeed. You're obviously, you're sitting at, I'm going from 250 to 212, right? So, and I was dropping consistently on a week to week and week in a great way. So, like, it was good to have an eye like that. And then, last week of prep, this is, like, I'm almost at 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So the amount of emotion that was going through me at that time, I was writing an ebook, and, like, that was around the corner. It's like 2 weeks out, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm getting 100,000 of what my life's been changing, and I'm doing this on my own. I can't believe it. I'm sitting there crying, like, bawling in the gym, like, heads down. Someone comes by and snot's kind of on my face, like, yeah. So
I mean, but I love that you touched on that. It is so liberating, and especially, like, if you have kind of doubted your ability to do something incredibly hard, which I've always had that doubt, and I think it's healthy to some extent, but I kind of see that in you as well. Is like, you're very capable. Like, anyone except you would argue, be like, no, he's amazing at what he does. He's more than capable of doing this. But you yourself, like, because you have those standards, it's hard to really believe it. But when it's so obvious, like, in front of you, and you're looking back at, like, dang, like, I just did this thing that a couple years ago, like, even was, like, it felt impossible, even with another coach, so it's a great feeling.